In a significant development, India and the US have signed the Security of Supplies Arrangement, SOSA. It was signed on the sidelines of the ongoing visit by Defense Minister Rajnath Singh to the US. Now, SOSA will enable a closer defense industry cooperation between US and India. Interestingly, as reported by ThePrint, the US has emerged as the biggest defense importer of India-made subsystems and helped achieve New Delhi's staggering export growth of 31 times in 10 years in the critical sector. SOSA will now enable the US companies to do more in India in terms of manufacturing and sourcing and help them widen their base. However, it is not a binding agreement legally. I spoke to Pushan Das, the Director Aerospace and Defense at the US-India Business Council, and he says that the SOSA is an enabling act but not a legally binding one. The next step will be the signing of the Reciprocal Defense Procurement Agreement, that is RDP, which will be legally binding. He explained that the SOSA is an important agreement that enables the American companies more freedom to manufacture and source from India. Now, what is really SOSA all about? Through this SOSA agreement, which has been signed with 18 other countries, including a few non-allied and non-NATO countries, the US and India have now agreed to provide reciprocal priority support for goods and services that promote national defense. SOSA allows the US to request on priority delivery for its contracts, subcontracts, or orders from companies in these countries. Similarly, SOSA also allows the signatory nations to request priority delivery for their contracts and orders with the US firms. So this is not a one-way street, this is a two-way street. The arrangement will enable both countries to acquire the industrial resources they need from one another to resolve unanticipated supply chain disruptions to meet national security needs. In the arrangement, the US and India commit to support one another's priority delivery requests for procurement of critical national defense resources. The US will provide India assurances under the US Defense Priorities and Allocation System with program determinations by the DoD, that is the Department of Defense, and rating authorization by the Department of Commerce. India will in turn establish a government industry code of conduct with its industrial base, where Indian firms will voluntarily agree to make every reasonable effort to provide US priority support. Do remember that, as Das pointed out, all prioritization will be based on goodwill and not because one is bound by commitment. With an ever-expanding global supply chain, the US Department of Defense, that is the DoD, issued a statement saying that the SOSA is an important mechanism for the DoD to strengthen interoperability with the US defense trade partners. The arrangements institute working groups, establish communication mechanisms, streamline DoD processes, and proactively act to allay anticipated supply chain issues in peacetime, emergency, and armed conflict. They are also a useful tool in developing investment strategies to ensure redundancy and security. India is the 18th SOSA partner of the US. Other SOSA partners include Australia, Canada, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Israel, Italy, Japan, Latvia, Lithuania, the Netherlands, Norway, the Republic of Korea, Singapore, Spain, Sweden, and the UK. But what does SOSA mean for Indian companies? Partner nations who are signatories to SOSA need to have a government industry code of conduct whereby firms agree to make every reasonable effort to provide priority support. Participation in these codes of conduct is voluntary, and participating firms may offer their participation in a code of conduct as an indication of their reliability in providing defense goods and services to the DoD and its contractors. DoD program managers, contractors, and subcontractors acquiring materials and services from participating firms may request priority delivery of their contract, subcontract, or order whenever necessary. Now, what is an RDP? India and the US have been discussing a RDP agreement which will make it binding on companies to prioritize the other and will eventually open up joint production and sourcing on a larger scale. The US has signed RDP agreements with 28 qualifying countries that paves the way for rationalization, standardization, interchangeability and interoperability of conventional defense equipment with allies and other friendly governments. These agreements, the US says, provides framework for ongoing communication regarding market access and procurement matters and enhance effective defense cooperation. The agreement allows the American companies to bypass the critical Buy American statute similar to Make in India, which allows the firm to set up manufacturing bases and collaboration with signatory countries. For The Print, this is Snehesh Alex Philip. Do subscribe to The Print's YouTube channel for more such videos.